OutDaughtered. Adam is helpless as Danielle's autoimmune disorder flares up from stress of finding Quints a nanny exclusive. Some days, I wake up feeling like I'm ready to take on anything, and some days, it feels like our life just keeps turning up the pressure one knob at a time. Raising 6 daughters wasn't something I ever thought I'd be doing, and definitely not all at once. But here we are. And most days, I tell myself that we're handling it. But the truth is, you don't always know when something small is going to push everything off balance. The stress hits Danielle the hardest, and when her autoimmune issues flare up, I feel like I'm watching something I can't stop, like I'm standing behind a glass wall. You want to help the person you love, but you don't always know how. People see me smiling on the outside, and they think I'm fine. They say, "Danielle, you're tough. You've always been tough." And I get why they think that. I try to push through everything. I don't like to slow down. I don't like to ask for help. But stress is something my body responds to even when I don't want it to. When things start to pile up, the schedules, the girls, the house, the unexpected problems tease like my immune system flips a switch. And I feel it before I even admit it's happening. I tell myself I can shake it off, but my body doesn't always agree. We've been dealing with her condition for a long time, but the stress we're under lately, it's different. The Quints are older, but that doesn't mean they're easier. In fact, they're more emotional, more energetic, more opinionated. And on top of that, their schedules are getting fuller. They all want to try different things, join different activities, explore their own personalities. And that's great, it's what we want. But 6 different personalities means 6 different needs, 6 different moods, 6 different problems, all happening at once. And sometimes I look at the calendar and wonder how we're supposed to keep up with all of it without help. The nanny situation, it's been hanging over me like a cloud. We've had help before, but not every arrangement works out long term, and I never feel totally comfortable handing over my kids' care to someone new. The Quints aren't babies anymore. They notice more. They react more. And I don't want someone stepping in who doesn't understand who they are or how our house works. I want someone who values them, respects them, and doesn't get overwhelmed by the Busby level energy. But every time we interview someone, my mind goes straight to the negative. What if they're not patient enough? What if they're too strict? What if they're too lenient? What if they don't stay? What if they don't care? I've tried to tell Danielle that we'll figure it out, that we always do. But when her autoimmune symptoms flare up, it becomes obvious that telling her isn't the same as helping her. I see her fighting through fatigue, headaches, body aches. And then she still gets up to help the girls with homework, still cooks dinner, still organizes their backpacks for the next day. She acts like nothing is wrong. But I see it. I see everything. When my body first started reacting to the stress of finding a nanny, I ignored it.
Typical me.
I thought maybe I was just tired, maybe I hadn't slept well, maybe the Texas weather was being weird again. But then the fatigue got heavier, like someone draped a weighted blanket over me that I couldn't take off. I'd get dizzy when I stood up too fast. My joints felt tight. I'd lose my train of thought in the middle of a sentence, which I hate. And every time the kids needed something, I had this battle with myself. My heart wanted to be fully present, but my body didn't want to cooperate. I'd be sitting at my desk working, and I'd hear her trying to move through the house quietly, so she didn't worry me. But I know the sound of her footsteps when she's tired. I know the way she leans against the counter for half a second longer than normal. I know the way she forces a smile when the girls ask her to come play. Watching that makes me feel useless. Because I can do everything in my power to help, but I can't fix what her body does when she's under stress. And when the stress is caused by something we can't avoid, like needing help for the Quints, it feels like we're trapped in this cycle. I told Adam I didn't want him worrying, but of course he did. That's who he is. And he kept asking me to slow down, to take breaks, to let him handle more. But asking me to slow down is like asking one of the Quints to stay still for more than a minute. My brain tells me that if I take my foot off the gas, everything will fall apart. It's not rational, know that. But it's how my mind works. I started taking over as much as I could. I woke the girls up in the mornings, handled the breakfasts, packed the lunches. I took them to school most days. I handled the evening chaos. But even with everything I did, it still felt like Danielle was running 10 invisible jobs that only she understood. Moms have these mental map sheet tiny details, the routines, the emotional patterns of each kid. And when she's not at 100, those maps get harder for her to manage. And I can't recreate them, no matter how hard I try. When the stress got worse, I knew something had to change. The nanny search couldn't drag on forever. But every interview made me more tense. I didn't show it all the time, but inside, my thoughts were spinning. What if the nanny we chose added more stress instead of reducing it? What if the girls didn't feel safe with them? What if trusting someone turned into a mistake? And that's when I really felt helpless. Because the nanny search wasn't something I could just take over. Danielle needed to meet the candidates. She needed to ask her questions, get her impressions, feel comfortable. She's the emotional center of the house. She knows when someone is a good fit before I do. But every interview drained her more. I could see it in her eyes, that exhausted, foggy look that shows up when her body is overwhelmed. One morning, I woke up and couldn't shake the heaviness in my chest. Not pain pressure. Like the weight of the entire month was sitting on top of me. I moved slowly. I tried to hide it, but the girls noticed. They always notice. Riley was the first one to ask why I looked weird. And then I had to pretend everything was fine, even though it felt like my body was glued together with tiredness. That was the morning I knew we'd hit a breaking point. I told her to stay in bed. She didn't argue, which scared me more than anything. Danielle never gives in to rest unless she's really worn down. I laid there thinking about everything at once: girls' schedules, the housework, the nanny search, my health. And the more I thought, the more overwhelmed I felt. My autoimmune issues don't flare up because of one big problem. It's the accumulation, the dozens of tiny stresses that pile on until my body just says, enough. That afternoon, I canceled the next nanny interview. I didn't ask her. I knew she'd be upset, but I couldn't force her to push through another conversation when she could barely stay awake. I sat beside her and told her that nothing was more important than her health. Not the house. Not the schedule. Not even the nanny search. At first, I felt guilty. Like I was failing the girls, failing Adam, failing the house. But then I realized I was trying to do everything myself like I always do, and that's what pushed me into the flare-up in the first place. I had to accept that asking for help wasn't admitting defeat. It was being responsible. I told her we'd slow down the nanny search, that we'd take it week by week instead of trying to force a decision. I told her she didn't need to be involved in every step. I'd screen candidates first, narrow them down, and she'd only meet the ones who really seemed right. She agreed reluctantly, but she agreed. Letting go of control, it's hard. But I knew I had to. And little by little, the stress started easing. I rested more. I let Adam take more off my plate. And the girls, without even knowing it, helped too. Their laughter, their chaos, their funny comments gave me a reason to breathe and slow down. That's the thing about being a mom. Even on your worst days, your kids remind you of who you are. Still feel helpless sometimes. Watching her deal with something I can't solve will always hit me hard. But I've learned that my job isn't to fix her. It's to support her, stand beside her, and make sure she doesn't carry everything alone. The nanny search isn't over. And the stress isn't magically gone. But we're handling it. We're moving slower. We're making choices with more breathing room. And I'm learning, finally, that taking care of myself isn't selfish, it's necessary. Because the girls don't need a perfect mom. They just need me healthy, present, and able to give them the love they deserve. Life with 6 daughters will always be intense. But we're a team. And as long as we keep supporting each other, we'll get through the flare-ups, the stress, the worries, and everything else that comes with raising a family this big. Danielle's health comes first. Always. And I'm going to keep reminding her of that every single day. OutDaughtered 2016 Season 2 streaming. Watch and stream online via HBO Max. Season 2 of OutDaughtered arrives at a moment when the Busby family stands at the crossroads between survival mode and something almost resembling normal life. A year earlier, Adam and Danielle welcomed the first all-girl quintuplets in the United States, a miracle wrapped inside exhaustion, sleepless nights, bottles, diapers, medical follow-ups, and the steep learning curve of caring for 5 tiny humans at once, all while parenting their oldest daughter, Blake, who must find her identity in a suddenly crowded world. Now, as Season 2 opens, the Busbys are no longer simply adjusting to quintuplet life. They're trying to build structure. They're trying to understand each child individually, give attention in a home overflowing with need, juggle the realities of work and finances, heal emotionally after a physically and mentally draining year, and rediscover who they are as individuals and as a family. This season's heart is simple, yet massive. Season 2 answers that question through stories of growth, humor, chaos, and emotional honesty. Life in the Busby household is never quiet. But as Season 2 begins, viewers immediately notice something different. The Quintuplets are no longer the tiny, fragile newborns who once slept quietly in matching bassinets. They are active, curious,
loud,
mobile. Each of the Quints is discovering personality in ways that surprise even their parents. Hazel's distinctiveness shines through as her red hair and bright expressions hint at her independent streak. Riley's confidence borders on fearlessness, making her the child most likely to test boundaries before anyone can blink. Parker battles shyness, moving between wanting to be involved and quietly retreating when overstimulated. Ava and Olivia, the twins, continue developing their own funny, mirrored dynamic. These early episodes show the family trying to adapt to 5 toddlers discovering the world all at the same time. The daily routine becomes a carefully choreographed operation. Danielle structures meals, naps, playtime, and appointments with precision. Adam tries to stay present while balancing work commitments. Their home becomes a mini factory of toddler logistics gates, high chairs, specialized schedules, and a constant rotation of tasks. But the heart of this chapter isn't the chaos. It's how the family learns to celebrate the small victories that most people never think twice about. A successful feeding session, a smooth nap time, a tantrum that ends quickly instead of stretching across an hour. These are the milestones for a family raising quintuplets. And above all, Season 2 highlights one major theme. One of the most emotional threads of Season 2 is Hazel's medical journey. Born with a congenital eye condition that affects her ability to focus and align her vision, Hazel requires regular checkups and specialized treatments. Sometimes she needs glasses, sometimes she needs close monitoring. Every appointment brings hope, worry, and decisions that no parent ever truly feels ready to make. Season 2 approaches Hazel's story with sensitivity. The narrative focuses not on fear, but on the Busbys' determination to give their daughter everything she needs to thrive. Danielle, always practical, approaches each appointment with questions prepared. Adam, emotional at heart, wrestles with wanting to protect his children from anything painful or uncertain. What makes this storyline powerful is its honesty. It isn't dramatic for the sake of drama. Instead, it is deeply human. Parents navigating the unknown, a little girl adapting to her unique needs, and a family learning that strength does not always mean perfection. Throughout the season, Hazel becomes more confident and expressive. Her smile grows bigger. Her laugh becomes more contagious. Her personality, both silly and sweet, blossoms through the challenges. In many ways, Hazel's journey becomes a symbol of the Busbys' entire life, difficult but filled with hope. Season 2 captures how the Busbys strive to maintain balance in a household where every day feels like a marathon. Meals, for example, turn into events. 5 toddlers eating at once requires strategy: who sits where, who needs help first, and which child is likely to fling food across the room if they get impatient. Bath time is a coordinated effort. Danielle often handles one side of the bathroom while Adam manages the other, each trying to get through the routine before one child slips away or decides to splash half the water onto the floor. Going anywhere, even to the backyard, becomes a production requiring bags, strollers, snacks, sunscreen, and backup plans. Yet the beauty of Season 2 lies in how the family leans into both the stress and the humor. Instead of pretending life is perfect, they allow the audience to see the moments of frustration, teamwork, laughter, and overwhelming gratitude that shape their days. While the quintuplets draw much of the attention simply because they require it, Season 2 also focuses heavily on Blake, now old enough to observe her sister's impact on the family dynamic. Blake isn't just a big sister. She becomes a gentle helper. She fetches diapers, entertains the babies, and learns how to support her parents in small but meaningful ways. Yet she also experiences moments of confusion, longing, and adjustment. She must share everything: her space, her parents' attention, her routines. The season takes care to show Blake's emotional world. Her excitement, her frustrations, her bursts of confidence, her quiet need for reassurance. Danielle and Adam make intentional efforts to give her one-on-one time. A lunch date, a small shopping trip, a simple conversation at bedtime. These moments emphasize that although the Quints need constant physical care, Blake needs emotional care too. One of the most heartwarming aspects of Season 2 is how Blake grows into her identity. Not just as the big sister of the Quints, but as her own young girl with her own strengths. Season 2 subtly introduces a more serious undertone: Adam's internal stress. Raising quintuplets takes a mental toll, and the season hints, without diving into alarming detail, that the weight of responsibility, financial pressure, and exhaustion affects him emotionally. Adam tries to stay upbeat for the cameras, for Danielle, and for the kids. But viewers can see the fatigue behind his eyes, the overwhelm in his voice, and the burden he carries trying to do everything perfectly. Season 2 doesn't frame this as weakness. Instead, it presents Adam's struggle as something natural, a part of being human in an extraordinary situation. The season begins a conversation about emotional health within parenthood, highlighting the importance of honesty and communication inside a family. If Season 1 showed Danielle as a strong new mother navigating a monumental challenge, Season 2 shows her evolving into a powerhouse of organization, patience, and resilience. Danielle takes on roles that stretch across every aspect of home life: meal planning, medical appointments, maintaining routines, coordinating schedules, managing finances, and still striving to be a loving mother and supportive wife. But Season 2 also reveals Danielle's vulnerability. She gets tired. She gets overwhelmed. She questions herself. Yet she never stops trying to keep the family moving forward. At the same time, she insists on maintaining individuality, something that can easily get lost in the whirlwind of raising 6 kids. Danielle begins exploring hobbies, interests, and moments of joy that belong solely to her, independent of her identity as a mother of quintuplets. Her storyline becomes a reminder to all parents, especially mothers, that caring for oneself is not selfish, it's essential. Another major theme in Season 2 is community. The Busby's extended family, especially Uncle Dale and Aunt Crystal, bring humor, energy, and relief into the household. Their personalities add brightness to stressful days and give Danielle and Adam moments to catch their breath. Friends also step in, watching the kids, helping with meals, offering encouragement. This season shows how raising a big family is rarely a solo journey. Support systems make a difference. Laughter from relatives, helping hands from grandparents, and quick jokes from siblings help lighten the load. The show treats these relationships not as secondary, but as essential pieces of the Busby's life. As the quintuplets grow older, Adam and Danielle try to introduce more activities into their lives. Outings become less about necessity, doctor's appointments, or grocery trips, and more about enriching experiences. Simple moments like visiting a park, going on small local trips, or exploring new environments become milestones. For most families, these moments are small. For the Busbys, they are major achievements. Coordinating 5 toddlers in a public place takes courage, planning, and patience. These outings often bring unexpected chaos, big emotions, adorable reactions, family bonding, growth for the kids. Season 2 uses these moments to show that the Busbys are not just surviving. They are beginning to live, explore, and create memories. As the season progresses, the Busbys face the inevitable truth: the quintuplets' needs change constantly. What worked last month may not work today. Schedules shift. Behaviors shift. The entire household must adapt. This chapter of the season focuses on flexibility. The Quints begin testing boundaries not in dramatic ways, but in normal toddler ways. They grab toys from each other. They cry when routines are disrupted. They form preferences, dislikes, and strong opinions. Danielle finds ways to modify routines. Adam looks for new strategies to help. Together, they learn the delicate balance between structure and spontaneity. One of the joys of Season 2 is watching each quintuplet meet individual milestones, walking, talking, laughing in new ways, interacting more intentionally. Season 2 treats each of these moments like the celebrations they are. Parents of multiples often worry that individual milestones will get lost in the crowd. The show ensures that doesn't happen. Every child receives focused attention, every achievement receives recognition, and every step forward becomes a piece of family pride. These moments remind viewers that raising quintuplets isn't only challenging, it's filled with joy that multiplies by 5. As Season 2 nears its end, the Busbys think more intentionally about long-term plans. As the children grow, they will need more space, more resources, more educational support, and more individualized care. The season captures conversations about routines, future schooling, financial planning, and personal dreams. Adam wants to find stability and purpose as a father while balancing his career. Danielle dreams of building a life where every one of her daughters feels secure, loved, and supported. The future remains uncertain, but it's filled with possibilities. The essence of Season 2 is not the chaos, the challenges, or the exhaustion, it's love. Love in the form of teamwork. Love in the form of sacrifice. Love in the form of endless patience. Love in the form of laughter that breaks through even the hardest days. The season closes on a message that resonates far beyond the Busbys' home. Family isn't perfect. Family is effort, intention, resilience, and connection. And in the Busby household, love is what turns chaos into something beautiful. Season 2 of OutDaughtered is a portrait of a family learning, growing, laughing, stumbling, and rising again. It shows the transformation from surviving the quintuplet newborn phase to building a foundation for the years ahead. It highlights